Welcome to this comprehensive guide on the Visual Studio Code PowerShell Debugger. Debugging is an essential skill for any PowerShell developer. It allows you to pause your script execution, inspect variables, and identify issues in your code. Throughout this tutorial, you'll learn modern debugging techniques that will help you write better scripts and fix problems more efficiently. Let's dive into the powerful debugging features available in Visual Studio Code. Before you begin debugging PowerShell scripts in Visual Studio Code, you need three essential components. First, install the official PowerShell extension from the Visual Studio Code Marketplace. This extension provides all the debugging capabilities you'll use. Second, ensure you have PowerShell version 7 or higher installed on your system for the best debugging experience and latest features. Finally, make sure you have a PowerShell script file with the .ps1 extension open in the Visual Studio Code editor. With these prerequisites in place, you're ready to start debugging. Starting a debug session in Visual Studio Code is straightforward and involves 4 simple steps. First, press Ctrl+Shift+D to open the debug panel on the left side of your screen. Second, click the gear icon at the top and select PowerShell from the configuration options. Third, set breakpoints by clicking in the left margin of your code or pressing F9 on the line where you want execution to pause. Finally, press F5 to launch the debugger, which will start executing your script and stop at your first breakpoint. These 4 steps form the foundation of every debugging session. Visual Studio Code offers 3 powerful types of breakpoints to control when your code pauses. Line breakpoints are the most common type and stop execution at a specific line when it's reached. You can set them by pressing F9 or clicking in the left margin. Conditional breakpoints are more advanced and only pause execution when a specific expression evaluates to true, allowing you to focus on particular scenarios. Function breakpoints pause execution whenever a specific function is called, making them perfect for tracking function invocations. Understanding these breakpoint types gives you precise control over your debugging sessions. Visual Studio Code provides 4 essential debug panels that give you complete visibility into your code execution. The Variables panel displays all variables in the current scope, along with their values and data types. The Watch panel lets you monitor specific expressions and variables throughout the entire execution, even as scope changes. The Call Stack panel shows the hierarchy of function calls, helping you understand how execution reached the current point. Finally, the Debug Console allows you to execute PowerShell commands and evaluate expressions in real time while your script is paused. These panels work together to give you complete insight into your code's behavior. Once your debugger is paused at a breakpoint, you have 6 essential keyboard shortcuts to control execution. Press F5 to continue running the script until it hits the next breakpoint or completes. F10 steps over a function, meaning it executes the function but doesn't pause inside it. F11 steps into a function, allowing you to debug the code inside that function line by line. Shift plus F11 steps out of the current function and returns to the calling code. Control plus Shift plus F5 restarts the entire debugging session from the beginning. Finally, Shift plus F5 stops debugging completely and terminates the script. Mastering these controls lets you navigate through your code efficiently. Conditional breakpoints are incredibly useful when you want to pause execution only under specific circumstances. In this example, you have a loop that iterates from 1 to 10. Instead of stopping at every iteration, you can set a conditional breakpoint that only triggers when the counter variable $i equals 5. To create a conditional breakpoint, right-click on an existing breakpoint and select Edit Breakpoint, then enter your condition, such as $i-eq5. This means the debugger will only pause when that specific condition is true, saving you time by skipping irrelevant iterations. Conditional breakpoints are essential for debugging complex loops and scenarios with many iterations. The Debug Console is an interactive tool that provides 3 powerful capabilities during debugging. First, you can execute PowerShell commands while your script is paused at a breakpoint, allowing you to test code snippets on the fly. Second, You can inspect variable values simply by typing the variable name and pressing Enter, which displays its current value immediately. Third, you can test expressions and logic without modifying your actual script code, making it perfect for experimenting with different solutions. The Debug Console essentially gives you a live PowerShell environment that operates in the context of your paused script, making it an invaluable tool for investigation and testing. Following debugging best practices makes your code easier to maintain and troubleshoot. First, use meaningful variable names throughout your scripts. Descriptive names like user data or connection status are much easier to identify in the variables panel than cryptic abbreviations. Second, add proper error handling using try-catch blocks to handle exceptions gracefully and make debugging smoother when things go wrong. Third, save your debug configurations in the launch.json file for complex debugging scenarios, such as when you need to pass specific parameters or debug multiple files. These configurations can be reused and shared with team members. Adopting these practices from the start will make your debugging experience more efficient and your code more professional. Congratulations! You've now learned the essential techniques for debugging PowerShell scripts in Visual Studio Code. You understand how to set different types of breakpoints, navigate through code execution, inspect variables, and use the Debug Console effectively. These tools empower you to write better code, identify bugs faster, and build more reliable PowerShell scripts. Debugging is a skill that improves with practice, so apply these techniques to your own projects and experiment with the various features. With these debugging capabilities at your fingertips, you're well equipped to tackle complex PowerShell development challenges. Happy debugging, and thank you for watching.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.